the church is evangelizing. The year 1000 to the year 2000, the church is dominating, is the world, is leading the world. Then at the end of this era of the last 1,000 years, the church seems to be losing ground. In the sense that you have this division where it's kind of like, look, our social unity of being an American, being an Ohioan, being a Denverite, these are the things that really define us. So if in Denver it's okay to smoke pot, then it's okay to smoke pot for you. And we're stuck and we're like, no, it's not. But then again, if it goes on long enough, actually it kind of is. It's not a big deal. Because you take on that flavor. And then you have this other flavor coming from the church, which is supposed to be the flavor of Christ. And you kind of say, are the two opposed? How do the two serve each other? So, can you guys frame for me that question? How would you frame the question that I'm saying?
Like, can the world and the church serve each other? Or what do you mean?
Is that okay?
I don't know if I know what you're...
Okay, so to keep going then, and then we're going to get it back from you. Does the fact that I'm a Catholic and the life that I live as a Catholic, does it make me less involved and less implied in the life of the city of Denver?
It makes me more involved because, I mean, my concern is for other people and not myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think that's what it's supposed to do.
That's what it's supposed to do because that's what this document taught. See? But there's a lot of people that might say something like, look, what we do in our faith life is everything. You're not an American, you're a Catholic. Have you ever come across people like that?
Yes, all the time.
It's do?
Annoying.
Mm-hmm. Where have you come across them?
My friends, all the time. It's like, because you don't agree with birth control because you're a Catholic. It's like, that's the only reason.
Oh, okay.
It's like, you just follow exactly what the church teaches because you're a Catholic.
You're mindless.
Yeah, you're mindless. You're like a robot. It's like...
And you can't really turn on them and be like, you're mindless and a robot. You only believe it because the world tells you to believe it.
Yeah. Because then they're like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because the world is so much more advanced than an ancient religion.
Yeah.
That's the thought.
Yeah, I think that, like, if we're honest, a lot of us, or the question of your identity as a Catholic versus your friends is where you see this. So almost like, does a Catholic make me less capable of being their friend? Does the fact that they're not Catholic make them less capable of being my friend? If you put it in that perspective, that's what this document's trying to sort out. Because you had two leanings. On the one hand, you had a leaning kind of from the left. This would be to say that because you're a Catholic, you have to work for social change as if that was the major goal of your life. So this would be like the liberation theology type of folks that would say, if there's poverty, it's okay to pick up guns and fight against the system, to overthrow the system, even if you become a communist. Because actually you become a communist because the faith requires us to change the political system. That's one thing. Then on the other hand, it would be saying, the world can go to hell, we don't care, we're Catholics. So I'm not going to get all involved in these things. Instead, I'm going to live my private, quiet life off on the side. And what this document is like, well, we know that the answer is in the middle somewhere. So where in the middle? How do we balance this to be so that you go to Mass and you pray the Rosary and you obey the obedience of Christ's commandments, but you're still in the workplace, still with your friends, still able to have intelligent conversations? How do you lay those railroad tracks? It's pretty interesting now, isn't it? Very good. That's my point. It is very interesting. Because this document is one that a lot of people assail because they found that it kind of condones the modern world. And so let's see what it actually says. This is the end of the document. The role of the church in the modern world. Dun, 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 dun. So let's start reading.
All we have said up to now about the dignity of the human person, the community of mankind, and the deep significance of human activity provides a basis for discussing the relationship between the church and the world and the dialogue between them. The Council now intends to consider the presence of the church in the world and its life and activity there, in the light of what it has already declared about the mystery of the church. Proceeding from the love of the Eternal Father, the church was founded by Christ in time and gathered into one by the Holy Spirit. It has a saving and
Eschatological.
eschatological.
So that means its purpose is to bring about the end of the world. Like its purpose deals with the end of things. It's not just dealing with feeding the poor. It's dealing with like the salvation of the world, like the whole thing of the world coming back to the Father. Eschatological.
It has a saving and eschatological purpose which can be fully attained only in the next life. But it is now present here on earth and is composed of men. Composed of men. They, the members of the earthly city, are called to form the family of the children of God, even in this present history of mankind, and to increase it continually until the Lord comes.
Okay, stop for a second. Do you guys see how he's laid out the two poles? What's the first side of that?
The members of the earthly city.
Yep. So, right, so we are in, and what do we do as members of the earthly city?
They're called to form family, children of God.
Keep going.
Even in this present history of mankind, and to increase it continually.
So we are called to form the family of the children of God in the present world. So the idea of the Amish, no, you're supposed to be in this world, and yet what's the other side of the coin?
And to...
No.
Oh.
What's the other side of the coin? What's the other thing the church is? It's in the family of the world, and it has a saving...
eschatological purpose.
Which...
can be fully attained only in the next life.
See, so on the one hand, we're like, it's not about this life. And then the other, our purpose is like heaven. So you're like, well, then forget the earth.
Yeah.
At the same time, we're called to be in the history of this world. Okay.
Where was I?
Made one.
Made one in view of heavenly benefits and enriched by them, this family has been constituted and organized as a society in the present world by Christ and provided with means adapted to its visible and social union.
Okay, stop. You see how it does the two things again? Two sides. Beginning of the sentence, it says...
Made one in view of heavenly benefits and enriched by them.
So we got heaven, and then second.
This has been constituted and organized as a society in the present world.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? So you can't just be like, well, I'm a Catholic in my heart, which means like in my spirituality, I float in heaven. It's like, yeah, and you're also a Catholic in a parish that calls you to play bingo and to coach a team and to go to church there. Okay, keep going.
Thus the church, at once a visible organization and a spiritual community, travels the same journey as all mankind and shares the same earthly lot with the world. It is to be leaven, and as it were, the soul of human society in its renewal by Christ and transformation into the family of God. That the early and heavenly city penetrate one another is a fact open only to the eyes of faith.
Okay, so now it's going to start getting serious. So all of a sudden it's like, all right, so we made it nice and clear. Okay, it's two things, and it goes on. Now all of a sudden, that the earthly and heavenly penetrate one another. This is cool for that question of you with your friends. earthly and the heavenly. So my love for my friends, my palship, and my faith, my love for Christ, my love for my friends needs to be part of my love for Christ. And my love for Christ needs to be part of my love for my friends. The two penetrate each other. Now how? Go ahead. That the earthly and heavenly city.
Is that where it was?
Yeah.
That the earthly and the heavenly city penetrate one another, and is a fact open only to the eyes of faith. Moreover, it will remain the mystery of human history, which will be harassed by sin until the perfect revelation of the splendor of the sons of God. In pursuing its own salvific purpose, not only does the church communicate divine life to men,
So one side.
but in a certain sense it casts the reflected light of the divine life over all the earth, notably in the way it heals and elevates the dignity of the human person, in the way it consolidates society, and endows the daily activity of men with a deeper sense and meaning.
That's the other side. So go see the two sides again. What are the two sides in that sentence?
It reflects the light of the divine over all the earth.
And before that?
It communicates divine life to men.
Okay, so now tell me where in your friendships, what does that look like? In your relationships, in your language.
It's maybe
Well, in your own life, think about this. Where does the church communicates divine life? Put that in your own word. Put that in your own words.
Like experiencing joy with being with one another? Or,
The church communicating divine life to you.
okay.
What does that mean?
talking about God, teaching about God,
Good.
building knowledge of Him.
Giving you the Eucharist,
Sacraments.
prayer, all the spirituality stuff. And all those things, you're being built up in the divine life. Jesus Christ is in your heart. You're becoming holy. You have mystical experiences. You feel Jesus in your heart in prayer. You want to be all alone in a chapel with the lights off. This is not normal stuff, right? Okay? And so in the same way, you got the church being like, you got to believe in Jesus Christ to be saved. You're going on Eagle Eye doing Stations of the Cross with torches that last 3 hours, thinking it's normal. And what do a lot of people say about that? What are the negative? What's the criticism against that stuff? Eucharistic processions, Marian consecrations, girls getting chastity rings.
You're forgetting about Jesus, like you're not
It's
focusing on
weird. It's
Well,
not
we're
realistic.
outdated.
Yeah.
We don't.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean,
it.
just can't come up with
not
modern
realistic.
ideas. Yeah,
And that is just plain
fantasy.
weird. It's just weird. Like, people are like, why are you doing that? You're like, no, the Holy Infant of Prague statue. Follow the statue. And they're like, oh my gosh, what's the matter with you, right?
Yeah.
And so it says, in pursuing its own salvific purpose, not only does it communicate, so it does all that, but in a certain sense, it also casts the reflected light of that divine life over all the earth. So it's cool. It's almost like, imagine a light coming down into our souls and then radiating not in a horizontal way. And what does the church do in the horizontal sphere? Come on, it talks about two things. In the text.
Cast the reflected light of the divine life over all the earth, in the way it heals and elevates the dignity of the human person.
Oops, stop for a second. That's the first thing. This is your ammunition. So when you're talking to your friends, they're like, why are you at SJI? You need to get the swag. What does that mean? Heals and elevates the dignity of the human person. You're going to be looking at them and be like, dude, being a Catholic totally helps me and helps you and helps everybody. Really? How?
Because you're made whole.
Cool. Talk about that. What does that mean?
I said made whole.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What does that mean?
I thought you said cool. It means brokenness is healed.
Okay.
to live a more fully alive life, more loving and I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying that divine stuff, being alone in the chapel, is actually good for me.
It's filling you wholesomely rather than with junk that the world fills you with.
How does it elevate you? How is it more elevated to follow a statue of the Virgin Mary singing songs, praying the rosary with old ladies all around you? Everyone else is going to the Bon Jovi concert, and you're going to the adoration hour. Your friends are like, "Are you crazy?" And you're like, "This is elevating." Talk to me.
In the sense that you're spending your time with Jesus rather than some pop star.
Boom. Nice answers, Bree. Do you see that? What's better about spending time with your Jesus? What's more elevated, spending time with Jesus than a pop star?
It was a joke about dropping out of SGI to go to the Bon Jovi concert.
I don't remember that. How does your faith elevate you?
I mean, I see like how the Catholic Church elevates human like dignity by like all of the charitable work they do, like the hospitals and like people that come out and fight against stupid propositions like 106,
Yeah.
Because they're concerned about the dignity of the person, and they're doing that because of their Catholic faith.
Yeah. Boom. So like here we got a world that's saying when you're old you can die, and a church that's saying when you're old you still have life in you. You're worth it.
Yeah.
Now which one speaks about human beings better, right? Babies can be destroyed. Babies can't be destroyed. Remember who led the forefront of the civil rights movement? It was a Christian. It was the church that was behind the civil rights movement. It was a Reverend Martin Luther King. It's not just the Catholic Church here. This is Christianity. And you're like, well, where were you, Mr. State Man, atheist dude, when leading the civil rights march? You weren't. You're smoking pot in your little corner. You're so cool, What are you doing for other people? You tell me. Where are you elevating human life? Where is it becoming nobler? Where are marriages stronger? Where are children more respected? Okay? So it doesn't mean the world doesn't. They're going to throw it back. Well, the whole gay movement thing, homosexual movement, there. And it's very interesting because that whole homosexual movement is cloaked in Christian terms of equality and justice and right, But they're going to throw that out. Now, you can debate that, and it is debatable. But I think that that's a valid point. Okay? So that's a spot where the world is trying to do something that's good. But let's put them in good in the sense of fighting for dignity. I don't think it's good that the whole movement's not good, in my opinion. But at the same time, the fact that the way that they're cloaking it, is all in the ideas of justice. It's just so contradictory with everything else that's going on. Like the suppression of the freedom of speech of anyone who opposes them. Whatever. Okay, so as you see what's going on here, he's like, church heals human dignity. I wanted to spend a lot of time on that point because this is your answer to your friends. Why are you Catholic? Why are you doing all that religious stuff? Your answer would be?
I'm elevating human dignity.
Yeah, well, in your words.
I'm making humanity better.
Yeah.
I'm actually caring about human beings and their life. I'm fighting to save human life.
Mm-hmm. Cool. That's in your language. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to find that answer more and more and more, and that's going to become your answer to your friends more and more and more. And I kind of encourage you to kind of think of it in terms of, dude, what is wrong with praying?
Yeah.
Because it's weird. You don't understand it. It doesn't mean it's wrong. When I'm doing this, I'm talking to the Most High. I'm talking to the Creator. This is actually kind of a positive thing, isn't it? And then they just kind of leave you alone. But you have to find your own words. Those are my words. So you have to find your own. Okay, it heals of its human dignity, and then there's another one. It does. In the way that the church does what? In the way it
consolidates society and endows the daily activity of men with a deeper sense and meaning.
Cool. So now it's actually saying that the church works for unity. Church unites our society. Now that's kind of cool because we're seeing our society split between blue and red. And here it's saying the church brings those two together. It's actually very true. So you want to get rid of the church, you can ask, what is it that's going to unite us? The economy? What's going to unite us? That's one of the problems that I have with Barack Obama's whole thing. It's like, okay, that you have a different position than me is all right, but that your government only governs in one way and never is open to ever doing anything that'll help 1/2 of the population. Same thing, like if Trump wins or if Clinton wins, it's like winner take all, baby, and everyone else is going to suffer. That's like not very... Like you're governing people that have different opinions. You have to try to take into those account where they're right. And yeah, you might see things differently, but that doesn't. You have to find a way to build up everything, and that's something that the church does. So I would love to see something like debates. Wouldn't it be cool to be able to debate things by the president? I would love to have Friday night debates. If I was president, I'd have Friday night debates in the White House debate series. I would sit there. I would invite on any issue 2 very intelligent people to not trade barbs, but to present their case eloquently and passionately in front of the American people so that our country could hear both sides of an argument made passionately. Beautiful. But we'll never do that. Well, at the church, we do that because we say, okay, so take the homosexual movement, for example. All right, there's a lot in there that's wrong. What is in there that's right that we can't overlook? It's not right to make fun of people because of their gender. It's not, you know what I mean? We can't make fun, persecute, treat poorly, speak ill of. But on the other hand, we can't say that you can do whatever you want to do with your sexuality. So now I could take that whole situation of the gender situation and transgender stuff, and I can, instead of looking at that as like this big ugly monster, I could say what a cool opportunity for us to move the whole thing forward. What is sexuality? What is human choice? What is freedom? And let's talk about these things together as people. Because you're obviously saying, I have the right to do whatever I want with my body. Well, that's very interesting. Where is that coming from? What are you trying to assert? What's good in that? And there is something that the church does. This is what she's supposed to do. We're supposed to have that listening ear where we bring out the good from every situation. Filtering out the bad, but bringing out the good. This is why the church isn't political. She advises politics, she encourages politics, but she herself doesn't take a political stance. She says you have to vote pro-life. It's pretty easy in this case. But you have to vote pro-life. That's not a political stance.
We got 10 more.
Moving on. Okay. We can go a little bit faster now, but I'm trying to help you to teach. See how much is in there?
Yeah.
And when you read it, you're just kind of like, oh, and then it's blah, 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 blah. Okay, keep going.
The church then believes it can contribute much to humanizing the family of man and its history through each of its members and its community as a whole. Furthermore, the Catholic Church gladly values what other Christian churches and ecclesial communities have contributed and are contributing cooperatively to the realization of this aim.
Okay, so that's fine. She's saying cooperate with the other non-Catholics.
Next
Moving
one.
on.
What the church offers to individuals.
41. Go for it, Regina.
Okay.
So this is pretty cool. So what's the benefit? Here's the benefit, the value proposition in your marketing right here. What does the church offer to individuals?
Modern man is in a process of fuller personality development and of a growing discovery and affirmation of his own rights. But the church is entrusted with the task of opening up to man the mystery of God, who is the last end of man. In doing so, it opens up to him the meaning of his own existence.
Wow. Isn't that beautiful? Did you guys get those 3 sentences? Read those again. It sets up the argument. Sentence 1, and then sentence 2, and then it spikes it.
Modern man is in a process of fuller personality development.
Okay, stop. That's churchese. Personality development means like the modern person is actually more educated, is freer, is more in tune with their emotions and their sense of right or wrong. Okay.
And of a growing discovery and affirmation of his own rights. But the church is entrusted with the task of opening up to man the mystery of God, who is the last end of man. In doing so, it opens up to him the meaning of his own existence.
The innermost truth.
The innermost truth about himself.
This is cool. So now it's like, what's the proposition? You're like, dude, I'm offering you the key to you knowing who you are. And to figuring out the way to live your life in the best way. So that's kind of cool. This is look at the positive maximalist speech here. It's not saying the church has a philosophy that you can adapt. It's that the church is the best philosophy that you can adapt. We're selling something here. We open up the mystery of God, your final and ultimate purpose. This is not neutral. Go ahead.
The church knows well that God alone, whom it serves, can satisfy the deepest cravings of the human heart. For the world and what it has to offer can never fully content it. It also realizes that man is continually being aroused by the Spirit of God and that he will never be utterly indifferent to religion, a fact confirmed by the experience of ages past and plentiful evidence at the present day. For man will ever be anxious to know, if only in a vague way, what is the meaning of his life.
Okay, see where it's going? It's talking to you about like, okay, look, everybody is always going to have interest in religion. So we're going to meet that interest.
His activity and his death. The very presence of the church recalls these problems to his mind. The most perfect answer to these questionings is to be found in God alone, who created man in his own image and redeemed him from sin. And this answer is given in the revelation in Christ his Son, who became man. Whoever follows Christ, the perfect man, became himself more a man.
Wow. That's a bumper sticker quote right there.
Whoever follows Christ, the perfect man, becomes himself more a man.
It's supposed to be becomes.
Yeah.
Becomes himself more a man. Whoever follows Christ, the perfect man, becomes himself more a man. So that's such that says everything right there, right? Why are you doing the rosary? You're not the same. You used to be so much fun. You used to get drunk with us, and now you don't. You've changed. Whoever follows Christ, the perfect man, becomes herself a better woman.
It's not sound as good.
Yeah, you're right. Let's just stick with the man thing.
Relying on this faith, the church can raise the dignity of human nature above all fluctuating opinions, which, for example, would unduly despise or idolize the human body.
Whoa, cool. So now it's getting specific. Boom, the body. You can either idolize it, that's the whole weird culture, the sport culture, the food culture, or you can despise it. And that would be whatever else type of thing it is. And the church is like, we're going to take that way above all those opinions. We're actually going to talk about the human nature and the human body in a whole new light. This is an avenue of evangelization. Because it's showing that the world is waiting for the Christians to talk about what the body is all about. And when you hear body, you hear sexuality. Because we have such a better vision of what sexuality is. And we can sell that because everybody wants to talk about that all the time. It's like, we need to get out there and start talking about the way it should be, which is the most amazing thing. So that's one point.
There is no human law so powerful to safeguard the personal dignity and freedom of man as the gospel which Christ entrusted to the church. For the gospel announces and proclaims the freedom of the sons of God. It rejects all bondage resulting from sin. It scrupulously respects the dignity of conscience and its freedom of choice. It never ceases to encourage the employment of human talents in the service of God and man, And finally, it commends everyone to the charity of all.
Wow.
It's interesting how like their words there, like freedom of choice, are like exactly the words that like all of like the anti-life movements are using.
Isn't that cool? But what I like too about it is the very beginning of that sentence. Could you read the very beginning again? There is no
human law so powerful to safeguard the personal dignity and freedom of man as the gospel which Christ entrusted to the church.
Isn't that awesome? So when people are like, I don't get the value of the religion, you gotta say religion isn't private. We're not talking about value of religion. You might not understand it. Let's talk about the value of the church as a body. Now the church as a body commands positive things with more strength than the civil government. Because civil government, it can put me into jail. Big deal. They can fine me. Big deal. The church isn't about something I'm constrained to do. It's about something I want to do. So now all of these positive things are going to be guaranteed by and reinforced by a body that's a culture that holds them in value and that commands them from me. Isn't that cool? So like there's not going to be pornography or child abuse or sexual traffic in the church. But there sure can be in Denver. So now which one's better? Well, we can pass a law against it. Have you? You just overturned a law that would protect human life at the end of life. You've overturned a law that would protect human life at the beginning of life. What's going to keep it in the middle here, Denver? Nothing. You're puny. Get out of here. I want to live. I want to protect the Jews. I want to protect the Mormons. I want to protect everybody from a government that could take over and kill them. And why? Because I belong to Christ, whose law never changes. Now you're going to tell me that doesn't have value? If the church had been more present, more inculcated, more fully present in Nazi Germany, the Nazis never could have taken over. Kind of cool. Whereas your what resistance do you have against the powers of evil and human dignity? What are you doing to protect the battered women? Anything? See what I mean? That's me like getting cocky, right? Because this is what the language of this is. It's like coming out swinging. It's just that it's so stately said and it's buried in a book that no one really reads it. But this is church teaching. No human law can safeguard personal dignity, the dignity of women, for example, and the freedom of man as the gospel. Because, and then it just talks about all those things. You guys get that? I want to give me some feedback there. Give me that in your own words. Give me what you're understanding, Vincenzo.
So the laws...
Bree, while he does that, I want you to write a single sentence out that in one sentence encapsulates what you've understood from this.
So human government can't create laws that guard the human dignity as much as the gospel of Christ can.
That's the language of the thing. Yeah, good job. Good job, Vincenzo.
As much as what the church teaches can. The church
Put it in your own words. Like, why is the church important? What's the value? What's the value?
The value of the church?
Yeah, it says we're looking at what the church offers individuals. So, what does the church offer individuals?
They can be protected from the laws of governments that might not be looking out for their dignity as a human person.
Nice. Give me an example. Don't do euthanasia.
Abortion.
You little cheater. Don't do abortion.
Example would be a law that says that
Think of a right that the government could try to take away. It gave you a whole list of them here. You can refer to this if you wish. Or think of a right that the government could take away.
So, the church can protect people from being enslaved and used as slaves. So if the government passes a law saying slavery is okay, church protects them, saying that they have dignity as a person.
And how does the church root herself in that?
How do they carry that out?
No, like, on what basis does the church make that claim?
That we're all sons of God. We shall be treated equally.
Does that ever change?
No.
Can it ever change?
No.
So if I could put that out there, regardless, even if whether or not it was right, would I be helping the world or making it a better place or a worse place?
Better place.
So even when you're with an atheist, be like, dude, even independent of faith, like our messaging is pretty positive stuff. Right? Would you love a prisoner to like learn the gospel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or, I mean, if you, like, think, like, the Vatican, the Catholic Church saved, like, the most Jews, like, during World War II, because they were, like, hiding them in the Vatican. Like, their efforts to actually fight that, even though they weren't able to stop it, was, like
where were
massive.
where were the secularist atheists then? Little smarty pants? Yeah. You guys
they
were
were
nowhere.
hiding people everywhere.
That's the type of stuff you want to remember. Exactly.
See, people always say, like, the Catholic Church didn't do anything at that time.
They don't know their history.
So it's
The
like they won't
chief,
listen when you say that.
yeah, well, they're just idiots. Okay, let's not talk about it. I mean, I can't deal with idiots. If they don't want to read it, then, forget it. Okay, moving on. Go ahead, Regina. This is nothing more than
charity vote. This is nothing other than the basic law of the Christian scheme of things. The fact that it is the same God who is at once Savior and Creator, Lord of human history and of the history of salvation, does not mean that the autonomy of the Creator, of man in particular, is suppressed. On the contrary, in the divine order of things, all this redounds to the restoration and consolidation of this autonomy.
Thank you. Bree, what's your one sentence?
No, you didn't think you were coming back to me. No human law of majority vote or passing fad can uplift and protect the human dignity and freedom of man like that of the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Okay, very
It's
good.
the same, but like, I don't know.
But you processed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look who's using different pedagogical techniques. Look who's taking a session on pedagogy today and learned all kinds of things. I want to tell you a story, which is a pedagogical technique. So there was a movement in Nazi Germany called Die Weiße Rose, the White Rose. There was a movie that came out about
I've
it.
been there.
This doesn't surprise me. Regina. So,
Where is this?
in Germany. I think it was in which city?
Berlin.
And so they were university students who were Catholics. And they stood up against the Nazi takeover because of their Catholic faith by distributing leaflets, anti-Nazi leaflets all over the city. And they would sign it by the White Rose. It was the White Rose movement. And they were captured and then killed by the Nazis. But they went, like, kind of proudly, like saying, we're dying in defiance against what you guys represent. And they were university students. So in a time where the universities were being taken over, and all their little friends, their little, everybody's so great, they all ended up following and letting the Nazis do what they did. It was the Catholics who provided resistance. There are other groups that provide resistance against stuff like this, but we have in our history a lot of examples like that. Think of Poland overturning the communists. It happened when JP2 went back there and stirred up the conscience of the people. The story goes like this. He had a mass for 1.5 million people in his hometown of Krakow. 1.5 million. They filled the city square. So Krakow, I've been there. Imagine this book is a city square. It's like these are all buildings. I'm going slow so you get a sense of how many there are. These are all churches, businesses, schools. In this big open square that's just massive. It was filled with people. And John Paul II set up his altar there to say Mass. And after communion, the people started to chant spontaneously. They started to chant, we want God. We want God. Because the communists wouldn't let you have God. They saw the church as being an enemy of the state. So since they were the state, they declared war on the church. The people started chanting, we want God. True story. It went on for 17 minutes. 17 minutes. And an aide came to JP2 and said, "You've got to stop the people from chanting. They're going to start a riot." He said, "Stop them. This is the reason why I came." He never condemned communism. He never caused a ruckus. He just stirred up the people until communism couldn't satisfy them anymore. So there's a couple stories to showing that the church, the role of the church in the world, helps it, consolidates it, and because it reaffirms the rights and the dignity of the people. How are we doing?
Ohio. We did.
In virtue of the gospel, entrusted to it, go ahead.
Entrusted to it, the church proclaims the rights of man. She acknowledges and holds in high esteem the dynamic approach of today, which is fostering these rights all over the world.
Yeah, not anymore. Go ahead.
But this approach needs to be animated by the spirit of the gospel and preserved from all traces of false autonomy. For there is a temptation to feel that our personal rights are fully maintained only when we are exempt from every restriction of divine law. But this is the way leading to the extinction of human dignity, not its preservation.
Isn't that cool? Okay, so this is important because there it's saying that the church proclaims what to the modern world? In that one paragraph. What is the focus of the church's preaching?
The rights of man.
Rights of man. Human rights. It's really funny that today you almost hardly hear anyone talking about human rights. But back when I was your age, everyone was talking about them all the time. And this, it says, well, back in the, today, in the 60s, everybody's talking about human rights again. Everyone wants to make sure that human rights, the rights of women, the rights of workers, the rights of children, the rights of flowers, the rights of bumblebees, the rights of the North Pole, the rights, but today it's really funny. You almost hear, you don't hear people being like, that's against human rights, the violation of human rights in China. We don't really care anymore.
I feel like you hear that in the gay movement a lot.
Or it kind of like we separate humanity from groups. So like, like blacks have rights, gays have rights,
Isn't that interesting?
whites have rights, but we don't all have rights like as humans.
And nobody, actually, there was just this video clip that came out in India, and it was, on a public street, and this guy, attacked this woman, and stabbed her to death, and no one, people just walked by. No one even, stopped to try to help, on the street. So there's, I guess because she's female, and there's less value there, but...
Yeah. It's like, I don't know why we do that, but we separate. Because that's what the devil wants to do. He wants to separate us all, right?
Yep. And so here you've got, it's like, what's the value of the church? Dude, we defend human dignity. That's the kind of message you get out of this. We defend human rights, rock solid. And then he says this beautiful thing. For the temptation to feel that our personal rights are only fully maintained when we're exempt from every restriction of divine law is the temptation. So it's like, dude, I can only do what I want to do only if God can't tell me what to do. And he says this is the way leading to the extinction of your dignity. Because if you're doing what you want to do all the time, you're not going to do what's good for you.
I see that happening
Yeah.
all the time.
All right, so let's read what the church offers society, and then we'll call it a day. Not only is it for individuals that we protect society also. Who hasn't read yet? Fred?
The union of the family of man is greatly consolidated and perfected by the unity which Christ established among the sons of God. Christ did not bequeath to the church a mission in the political, economic, or social order. The purpose he assigned to it was a religious one, but this religious mission can be the source of commitment, direction, and vigor to establish and consolidate the community of men according to the law of God. In fact, the church is able, indeed it is obliged, if times and circumstances require it, to initiate action for the benefit of all men, especially of those in need, like works of mercy and similar undertakings. The church, moreover, acknowledges the good to be found in the social dynamism of today, particularly progress towards unity.
Okay, so we're losing it, right?
Yeah.
So summarize that paragraph for me.
The first one?
Yep.
So the mission of the church isn't in politics or the way of the world. It's a religious mission. And